Hello and welcome to English Unlocked and how to make the perfect tiramisu. So this session has an introduction which is aimed at people taking their IELTS exam, specifically the speaking part 2. So if you're not interested in IELTS or you're not taking a speaking exam, do feel free to skip this part and go straight to the recipe. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. It's a really delicious recipe if you choose to make it. However, if you are taking an exam, specifically IELTS or any other speaking exam, and you want a little example of a possible part 2 answer, then stay tuned because that's what I'm doing now. So let's imagine that I'm in my IELTS exam. We've done part 1, which is the general chit chat, and we've all got comfortable and relaxed. And I've been given my prompt card for part 2. And the prompt card says, talk about your favourite food. Mention why you like it, what it is, and how to make it. Then I have my minute, I've written some notes, and I'm ready to talk. Now, as in the exam, you are allowed to refer to your notes, so I have my notes with me as well, just to help me out in case I forget what I was going to say. So that's why I've got my notes in front of me. Okay, so the examiner will say, when you're ready, you can begin. So, I absolutely love food, so it's really difficult for me to think of a favourite food, but if I had to choose one, it would be something that I have just on special occasions from time to time. It's not an English dish, it's actually an Italian classic, which is tiramisu. So in the UK, Italian food is really popular. Most people would cite it as their favourite food, and tiramisu is probably the most popular dessert. I'm sure you've tried it, but I guarantee you would really love my version. I was lucky enough to live in Italy a few years ago, and I was given this recipe by an Italian. So it's an authentic recipe, really simple, and it's delicious. So all you need is a few ingredients. You need eggs, mascarpone cheese, some sugar, some sponge fingers, and some coffee. And that's all you need. And the method to make the tiramisu: first you need to separate your eggs and whisk up the whites. Then you mix the sugar and the yolks together in a different bowl. Add the mascarpone cheese, fold in the egg whites, add a spoonful of sugar, a spoonful of ground coffee, pardon me, and then you put it in a dish, layering the sponge fingers soaked in coffee and the cheese and egg and sugar mix, sponge fingers, the mixture, and then you top with some cocoa. So the reason I like it is really obvious. It's absolutely delicious. It's quite rich, but putting the spoonful of coffee in actually helps to reduce that and gives it a bit of texture as well. It's something that we only have on special occasions, so although it's not the healthiest dessert, once in a while it's okay. Perfect for dinner parties and birthdays, and that's why tiramisu is my chosen favourite food. So now I'm going to give you a few tips on how to make the most of your IELTS speaking part 2. So firstly, you must make sure you make notes. Very short notes, but ones that you can refer to in the exam. That's why they're there. If you don't use them, you risk not mentioning key points from the criteria, which will lose you marks. And also, there'll be bits of vocabulary or words that you want to include, and you'll forget them if you haven't written them down and refer to them. I referred to my notes as you saw, and that's perfectly fine. It's expected in the exam. You also need to make sure you have a strong beginning and a strong end. So you can't drift in. I'm going to talk about tiramisu. And then at the end, tiramisu is great for parties and for when you're on your birthday. That's not a strong beginning or ending. Bad impression on the examiner. Strong introduction. I'm going to talk to you about my favourite food, which is tiramisu. strong ending, and that's why I've chosen tiramisu as my favourite food. Secondly, presentation. If you're saying this is your favourite food, tiramisu is my favourite food. I really like it because it's delicious and I have it on my birthday. What? Really? No, you've got to show enthusiasm. These topics are chosen because they're things that you should be able to relate to and engage with. So you need to show the personality, you need to show a bit of life when you're talking, okay? That's point number 2. Content-wise, you need to be using key vocabulary, topic-specific vocabulary. So if it's something like a recipe, you must have sequencing words, firstly, and then, next, after that, finally. You must use the kind of words adding, mixing, folding, combining, those kind of words. Heat, fry, bake, whatever it is, you need to know those words. You need to remember to add some adjectives and some adverbs, quantifiers, anything that's going to make your language more versatile and more complex. Don't forget to use different grammatical structures, not just the present simple or the past simple. You need to use present perfect, you need to use superlatives, comparatives, all those kind of things. But most of all, you just need to try and relax and be yourself. We know it's a pressurized environment and it's not a realistic environment, but if you can try and be yourself, then that's half the battle won. So if you're taking your exam, good luck, hope you do well, and feel free to use my tiramisu recipe as your example if you don't have one of your own. So, how do we make tiramisu? It's incredibly easy and there are very, very few ingredients. Brilliant. So you need 4 eggs, separated. So you separate the yolks and the whites into different bowls, which I'll do in a minute. You need 100 grams of caster sugar, 500 grams of mascarpone. You can find this with the cheeses in the supermarket. You need some fresh ground coffee, some sponge fingers, just look like this, some coffee, hopefully a nice freshly made pot of coffee into a bowl, and just a little bit of cocoa for dusting at the end. And that's it. You will notice there's no alcohol, no custard, no cream, no crazy ingredients. It's as simple as that, and that's why it's so delicious. Right, so let's get started. I've got 2 bowls, as you can see. In this one, I've already done 3 eggs, so I'm going to do my final egg. Wish me luck, it doesn't go wrong. So we separate the egg very carefully, making sure that only the white goes in this part, and then only the yolk goes in the other part. And we get rid of our rubbish. Okay, first part done. Now you need to whisk up these egg whites. I'm doing it the old-fashioned way, but please feel free to use an electric whisk, or if you have a stand whisk, even better. But basically, you need to, oh, can you hear that? You need to get these whites nice and fluffy. It's good for building up your muscles. So it only took me less than 5 minutes to get these whites into this stiff peaked stage, as you can see. Okay, they should look a bit like that. So that's the whites done. I'm going to put those to one side for a moment and move on to my yolks, the yellow part of the egg. So I have my 4 yolks, and to that I'm simply going to add the 100 grams of caster sugar and mix it all together. This doesn't take very long at all. As you can see, that's all beautifully combined. Keep mixing just so it goes a little bit lighter in colour. And that's done. The next thing I need to do is add my mascarpone. So, need a big spoon. Let's get that mascarpone in. Wow, look at that. So they come in very useful 250 gram tubs.
So I just need to buy 2 tubs, and I know I've got exactly the right quantity and I don't need to measure it out. So that's handy. Right. And now, again, I just need to mix the 2 together. This takes a little bit more work. You have to be a bit gentle at the beginning, but once it's loosened up, you can soon combine everything. You see, it doesn't take much at all. Whew. Well, I'm certainly getting a good workout, that's for sure. And it soon goes lovely and creamy, just like that. Okay, you don't need to overwork it, just a little bit. Let's just tap the excess off my whisk. Don't need that anymore. Okay, we're almost there. The next thing to do is to fold in the egg whites. It's best to use a metal spoon, I find, but we can just plop the whole lot in there. And we just go round and through, over and through, and you gently make sure the egg whites are all combined so it makes a beautiful light mixture. Here it goes, almost all combined. It's quite loose at this stage, but once it's been in the fridge for a while, it will firm up a little bit, so don't worry about that. Now, the next stage is the magic part. This is the bit that not many people know about, but it makes all the difference to your tiramisu. You need to take a spoon, preferably clean, and you need to put a spoonful of fresh coffee into your mixture. And I'm not joking, that makes all the difference. It gives it a little bit of bite and just makes it not quite so rich. Takes a little edge off it. So can you see all that going through? Looks like vanilla, but there's no vanilla in this, as you know. There we go. And that is your tiramisu practically done. So all we need to do is assemble. Put you there. So take your dish that you're going to assemble it in. Now I was always told to line the bottom with a little bit of coffee. I don't know why, but I'm doing it anyway. Then we just need to dip your fingers into the coffee and start arranging the bottom layer. Try not to leave them in the coffee for too long. If you soak them for ages, then the texture of your tiramisu will be quite soggy, which means it's all squelchy and too loose, too wet. So just dip them in for a little bit and make your nice row along the bottom. I'm going to hurry up a little bit. Oops, let's do it that way. Don't worry if your dish isn't square or your fingers don't exactly fit perfectly. You can break them into pieces and make it work. It really doesn't matter. Unless you're a perfectionist and you want it all to look symmetrical. Okay, so there's my bottom layer. Now all I'm going to do is pour half of my tiramisu mix over the top of that. I think that's about half. Try not to make a mess. And then just push it to the edges with my lovely spatula. Okay, that's the first bit done. And then repeat. You do another layer. There should be enough coffee to soak all of this up. So this is one of those recipes you can actually do in real time because it doesn't take very long at all. If you make this for a dinner party, for your friends, they will be absolutely gobsmacked. That's a brilliant word. For someone, if you're gobsmacked, you're absolutely amazed, you can't believe it, and your friends will be absolutely thrilled to pieces. In fact, the reason my husband says the reason he married me was because of my tiramisu. So what can I say to that? That's the best endorsement for this recipe. Okay. One more. Oh, look at that. Just enough sponge fingers in the packet. Perfect. Right, that's that bit done. Next, pour the rest of my mixture over the top. Wow, looks amazing. Now, I don't like it when you watch cookery programs and they leave half the mixture still in the bowl. So that's why I'm going to use my spatula to get it all out. Get it in there. Well, I'll leave a little bit because I can enjoy that later on the back of a spoon. Okay, and there we have it. Your tiramisu is done, all apart from one final touch. Now, let's just move my pieces away. All we need to do next is give it its final little dusting of cocoa. I'm using a tea strainer because it's just the right size, but if you don't have a tea strainer, as lots of people don't, then do just use a sieve, it's fine. Okay, so just a little half a teaspoon or so on top there, and then tap, 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 tap. Over we go. You can be as generous as you like with this. It's all a matter of taste. There's no right or wrong. I've got quite a sweet tooth, so I'm putting plenty on top. Make sure there's no little bits left uncovered. Do, 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 do. And there you have it. Oops. There you have it. Tiramisu. Now, unfortunately, you can't eat this straight away. You have to wait. Put it in the fridge maybe for 6 hours. It's better overnight. All those flavours will develop. It will get a bit firmer. And then when you have your dinner tomorrow or your lunch tomorrow, you've got the perfect dessert to go with it. So I really, really hope you'll give my tiramisu recipe a try, and please do enjoy it. If you try it and you want to put a little comment on how it turned out and some photos, I'd be really, really happy to see them. So good luck with your tiramisu, buon appetito, as they say.